What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Self Made by Design podcast. Today, I've got another one for you. And today, I wanted to do a reaction video to, from the Valuetainment channel, talking about marriage. Is marriage still worth it? So, I wanted to start the video from a different portion to from the begin, not from the beginning, and I wanted to do a reaction commentary to parts of that video. So, without further ado, let's get into it, man.
Gotcha.
Do you want your daughter to get married? Yes or no? Or you're not going to answer that question?
She can get married if she would like to.
Do you want her to?
I don't think it's necessary in this age. No,
For a woman?
For a woman.
absolutely not.
Okay.
You don't
Really?
think it's necessary for women to get married?
Why?
Western marriage, there's no longer a necessity for it, unless you were looking out for something in the future, potentially if you want to have children. So if she said, "Hey, I'm looking to get married. I want to have kids," I'd probably say the best context would be to get married. But that doesn't mean get married to anyone. You see what I mean? There are ways that I can level this. Do I want her to get married? Yes or no? Well, who is she marrying? When?
Yeah,
Where?
but
How
there's-
long?
that's- yeah,
There's
but
a whole
it's a
bunch of
nuance.
context.
But to me,
it's just not a yes or no question.
But
So,
you-
Hafeez, what's your issue with this?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so it's always an interesting conversation because to me, like one of the things I'm obsessed with, and Dr. Peterson talks about this so well, is that the more your words are in line with the truth, the more powerful those words are. And I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, like that's when to me your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and it speaks on this divine level. And so to me, when you're giving advice, your advice has to be as in line with what God believes the world should run as possible. And so to me, the best advice benefits men and benefits women. That's the best advice. To your opinion, we had 70 years of advice only benefiting women and men suffering as because of it. That is a lie. That is wrong. And the opposite extreme is wrong as well. A world where it all benefits men and the women don't benefit, it's wrong. That's why it's about the balance. And so to me, I'm very curious about, I love her questions because it was like it's not a gotcha question. It was a genuine serious question. Shout out my guy AMS. I love AMS. He did a video about advice I would give to my daughter where he actually answers the question.
Similarly, I did a video about um, things that a father needs to teach their daughters, and you can check it out from this channel. And it's interesting that we're this conversation is actually playing out the way that it is, because I think personally I would love for my daughter to get married. I wouldn't want her to um be single or running around in the streets. Like, if she's not married, and what else is she supposed to be doing? You know what I mean? Like, what else what else is there for her to do? Like, she's gonna conquer the world by doing what? You know what I mean? So yeah, for me, I would want my daughter to get married, have a family of her own, and do things within that family arrangement to make life easy and better for herself and for her husband, to make life easy for him. It does matter who she gets married to, like Coach was referring to there. I think that's but that's down to you as a father to teach her um the way to select, the way to make a right selection so that she can pick the right partners. Right, I'm not saying that just because you teach your daughter the right things in life, and you teach her the right principles and guidelines, that she's going to follow them. That's not always the case, but you want to do that for your daughter, to give her the best chance of success when it comes to mate selection. You know what I mean? Because yeah, marriage is a beautiful thing, but sometimes it's not. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's hear what Hafiz is the point he's trying to make. He's trying to uh, stand in the middle of the conversation and to look at both sides and figure out what how do you benefit both parties, right? Instead of just looking at it from one angle and saying that you want only this for this party, but he's looking at it from both men and women's point of view, and to see um how do you benefit both. I think that's a hard road to walk on, because I don't know how you can kind of navigate through what I mean, just by yourself. Like, that's what I mean. Like, how do you by yourself navigate through both mindset, because you have the man, you have the woman, right? We don't think the same, we think differently. So how do you now navigate through this person's mindset and this person's mindset and try to merge both of them together? And I mean, like, that's why my channel kind of exists, right? Because I'm kind of like looking at things the way that he does in this context, because I like the balance of things. I like to help both parties, not just one. And I would equally pick on either genders, just because I think if we all make progress together as men and women, we help the society and we help ourselves to have a healthy relationship, which just transpires into healthy future generations. Because whatever traumas that we carry with us today and that we don't heal from, our kids end up carrying that for the rest of their lives. So, anyways, let's keep going. That's my little input on that part.
Directly. And so to me, I'm very interested in those questions because like when I would watch Kevin Samuels and God rest the dead, and it was so powerful because he would always push women to being married because he knew the beauty and the value and the protection and the safety like being a woman and being married. Nobody wants their daughter to be 41 years old, single, mom, baby mama of three. Nobody wants that for their daughter, especially if they want kids. So to me, I think the part of the conversation needs to be: is this information benefiting both human beings? When you're on Team Men, it only needs to benefit Team Men. If you're on Team Republican, it only needs to benefit Team Republican. If you're on Team America, it has to benefit all Americans. If you're on Team Human, it has to benefit both males and females. So that's why I loved her questions, because I think the best, like, I can give my hardcore advice to benefit men, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, the most hardcore advice that benefits men simultaneously benefits women.
One more thing I'll add to that, and I hope I don't mean to offend you. There's no God in marriage in the United States, so that's kind of misleading, and people will find that out if your marriage is destroyed. You go back to your pastor and you say, "Hey, my marriage is being destroyed." He has no power over that because it is a state agreement. So I will bring you back to make sure you understand, and I counsel men. There's no God in marriage. That's been gone.
Oh, man, those are bars, man. Though like the reason why society is so messed up today is for that reason, because there is no God in whatever people are doing, right? When you take off that higher power, or you remove your obligation to a higher power, it gives you the freedom to do whatever you want to do. It gives you the freedom to come and go as you please, right? And that is it's I think that's why society is the way it is, man, because everybody just want to do what they want to do. You can't tell anybody anything. There is no one that you answer to. There is no even the conscience of that people have doesn't they don't work the way they're supposed to anymore. There's just the free will to do anything you choose to do, and that's why there's so much divisions. There's so much strife and envy in this society, and everyone just loves to please themselves instead of thinking about the greater good, looking at the bigger picture. It can't always benefit you. It has to benefit everybody else, just like Hafiz was saying. But it's like when you remove God from the picture, it messes everything up. And going back to this conversation here about if marriage is still worth it, without God in it, there is no, it's not worth it. If you remove God from the picture, that it's not worth it at all. There is no point to even try to get married, because what is your obligation to the law, the government, the piece of paper that you sign on? And that's why the divorce rates is just skyrocketing, because there's no obligation to anybody, not even the person that you are claiming to be marrying. There is no obligation to that person. There's no loyalty or integrity to that person. You can just decide one day that you're not part of this whole thing anymore and you're out of the picture, and no one can stop you, right? And talking about God in the marriages, yes, you can get married in a church. You can get married there and everyone's happy. There's a big ceremony. Congratulations. Wow, wow, wow. Everything's good. And when it falls apart, what can be done? All they can do is try to give you advice and say, hey, try to do it this way, try to do it that way. But they can't force you to do anything. They can't keep you in that marriage unless you want to be in that marriage. So yes, there is a God, and you have to recognize that there is a God. But if you don't recognize that his place in your life, there is nothing that these leaders in churches can actually do to encourage you to stay in your marriage. And when it does fall apart, that's when you find out, and then you end up having to carry all of that burden on your own. And men and women don't carry the same burden when it comes to divorce and divorcing out of a marriage. We don't carry the same burden at all. And this is not something that it's not a shot at anybody or any gender. It's just like it's a reality though. Like when you really think about it, men and women don't carry the same load when it comes to divorce in a marriage. Even we don't carry the same load in the marriage. When it falls apart, it's on the man. It's on the man to make that marriage work. He has to be a poet. He has to be romantic. He has to uh woo the woman off her feet constantly, right? He has to carry a lot of load in order for that marriage to work. When it falls apart, everything lands on him. Like he must have not have done something right. He must not be pleasing her right. He must not be doing what he's supposed to do in the marriage, and that's why it fell apart. That's usually how the story goes. And afterwards, like, he's gonna have to pay so much money. If he's earning more than she is, he's gonna pay a lot of money for a long time, right? He's gonna lose his kids, probably, or maybe get minimal visitation rights. I'm glad, like, the laws are changing now, that um men and women do have equal rights, and now the courts are starting to stand in the middle, and not stand on one side, meaning on the side of the woman. But unless there's a real case for a child to be taken away from a parent, they don't just take kids away from parents anymore. And that's a good thing. That's a thing that needs to continue. But a lot of men have lost their kids and lost their families, devastated from the divorce, devastated we having to pay money financially to the other party for long periods of time. And a lot of men have felt lost and having to rebuild from ground up something that they have taken years and years to accomplish. Now they got to restart. It's not easy, man, but it is what it is, man. It's just life. But let's keep going, and let's let's dive into more into what this is about.
Oh well,
Listen, it was an
no,
old idea. It's absolutely gone unless you
that's
live in
not
the
true.
American South.
So
Most people on the West Coast, many people in the East Midwest, there's no God in marriage. So
Well,
we
break
know
that
this.
down.
That's
What do you mean
not
that there's
true.
no God in marriage?
There's no God in marriage. So people get married. One of
Mm-hmm.
the things that they will do is they will seek counsel of the church. And then, as such, the guys will give them guidance and it will be biblical principle. However, they will say, we can't do anything until you sign this state sponsored agreement with family law context. All right. They're not going to have a Bible in there. They're not going to have a Bible in that divorce court. The judge is not going to ask you, do you like God? And
No.
what about God in your marriage? There will be no context to that.
Yeah.
And such, what is the overriding principle here?
Does he
Your
have a point
marriage
there,
is
Hafeez?
state funded,
no,
not God
like
funded.
he just made a random point that
I didn't make it
absolutely-
random. I told you
not
that,
random
that
at all.
this will
So
offend
first
you,
was I?
and
What
it's
did I
now
say?
offended you.
What did I say? No, it didn't offend me. You just wrong. Let me say what I
I'm
said.
wrong. Wait.
Let me
No,
finish.
I'm
Let
absolutely
me
right.
finish.
There's
Let
no
me
God
let me
in the
finish.
marriage in
Let
the
me
United
finish,
States.
and you can talk. Let me finish. and
No,
you can
hold
talk.
for a second.
Let me finish.
Are you going to
Let
say
me-
there's
can I
no
finish,
God
Adam?
in marriage in the United States?
Coach,
let
finish
me-
your point. You're saying
Yeah,
there's no God in marriage in the United States.
Correct.
Got it.
That was his
Hafeez,
point. So
go
I
ahead.
can now I'm going to talk. So I made a point, and I said,
Like, even when the people go to church every Sunday and during the week, they don't let God make those decisions for them. They usually let their desires and the society make those decisions for them, right? God clearly says he doesn't want people to get divorced, but the divorce rates are so high. Why is that? Right? Like, I don't know if Hafiz understands what coach is trying to say, but it's like, it's plain for me. It's clear. I get it. I get what he's trying to say.
if your truth aligns with God, that truth is most powerful. That's what I said. If your truth aligns with God, meaning the word that you speak aligns with God, those words are the most powerful. Then he made a point saying there is no God in marriage. So first, that's a semantic thing because God is everywhere. Whether God chooses to supervene in things or not, I will never be the person that says God is not here. I will never be the person that says God is not present here. Could we argue that is God blessing every American Western marriage? Of course not. Of course, God is not blessing every American, but God is definitely in my parents' marriage. So when you say there is absolute statements, there is no God in marriage. False. Correct. There is no God in some marriages. There is no God in most marriages in regards to by being there no God, meaning that God's not blessing it, right? So if you're saying that God is not blessing what's happening in most marriages, that is a true statement. But to say there is no God in marriages, period, that is a false statement.
He's speaking not in a literal way, Hafiz. I, not in is not he's not speaking in the literal. I think this guy takes things too literally, right? He's not speaking in a literal sense that there is absolutely no God in any of the marriages in America. That's not what he's saying at all. But looking at the way that things are, looking at the way that um the divorce rates, for example, when you look at that, you understand that there is something wrong. If we are all trying to do things God's way, we all trying to be forgiving, we all trying to be loyal, showing integrity, having faith, we all trying to be loving and kind, and we put each other first, there should be no divorce, right? None whatsoever, because we'll all be doing what is right. But the truth of the matter is that that's not what's happening. Those qualities are rare to find in people these days. Those qualities are like are the furthest things from people's virtues that they cultivate. Like, everybody wants to have um the flashiest things in the world before they even get to build values that would help them to bring happiness to someone's life. You know what I mean? So, like, there are things that matters to people these days that really should not matter to them, but that's what we are dealing with. That's what matters to them. It's not godly. And just because you have a marriage that is successful does not mean that is because God has blessed you. It could just be because you've figured out a way to deal with the other person. You compromise better than a lot of people, or you found a person that can work with you. For example, like the lady on the panel there, she does OnlyFans, she's married, she's a wife, and she's a mother, but she does OnlyFans. Are you trying to tell me that God is blessing her marriage because now she's been married for 22 years and that means that God is blessing her marriage? Listen, man, if you let me talk too too long, I'm going to say wrong things that will offend you, right? Because in my opinion, I don't think God is blessing her marriage just because she's been married for that long. I think she's figured out things that is making her marriage work. I mean, she did say she didn't believe in God either, right? She's not a believer in God. So how can God be blessing her marriage when she doesn't even believe in him? A lot of people don't believe in God. But what I'm saying is this, man. Just because your marriage is prospering doesn't mean that it's blessed by God. Sometimes you just have your math right. You know what I mean? So like I get what the coach is saying. I get what Hafeez is saying too, right? But for the most part, I think he's looking at things more from the positive point of view, which is like sometimes when you're trying to be so positive and you're trying to bring out the best in people, you tend to overlook certain things. Tend to overlook um, certain realities that if you don't pay attention to, you pay for later on. You pay for it because they come back to bite you, right? Like for my son and my daughter, I'm more scared for my son than my daughter. Because I think my daughter will always be okay. Not uh perfectly okay in every sense. What I'm trying to say is like um she'll always be looked after. She'll always have uh me. I'll all even if her marriage doesn't succeed, I'll look after her, right? I'll look after my son too, but because that's just me though. Um, Usually in a society when marriage fails, the men suffer. There's not a lot of people that are coming to your aid to help you to um, figure it out. They help you to carry the burden. Um, that'll help you to give you a shoulder to cry on. No, like for the most part, they tell you to man up and keep it moving. You know what I mean? That's the way that usually men are treated when it comes to when things fall apart. But for the women, there's always someone that's gonna give them a shoulder to cry on. Like, you know, my daughter will be okay, but my son, like that's something that he would have to carry for on his own. He's gonna have to be tougher. He's gonna have to rebuild. Needs a lot of strength, man. So I teach I focus a lot on teaching my daughter qualities that help her in a marriage, simply because if she gets it right, she can really build a happy home, and she can affect a lot of lives. She can affect the lives of her kids and her husband, right? Because just her not getting it right affects the rest of the family. So I mean, it goes both ways. Men can also affect the rest of the family too. But I think sometimes I believe that um a good woman can change the course of so many things. You know, yeah, she can motivate her man to even change his life, to motivate him to accomplish things that he might not have thought that he could accomplish, right? But just from her attitude, just from the way that she sees the world, she could make all of this happen. So anyways, let's keep going. I'm done with my rant.
because God is in my marriage and God is also in my parents' marriage. And I will continue to say, when it comes to even understanding the ideas of God, God gives human beings free will. It's a very simple concept. You can freely sin or you can freely obey. And God, like a good father, if you want to touch the stove, you can touch the stove. And so to me, I just think when people make statements like this, how do you expect people to feel? There is
I don't
no
expect
God.
anybody to feel. I want them to know. I want them to understand. We want them to know.
I'm
We can't
talking,
feel
I'm
anything.
talking, I'm talking, and then you get the opportunity to talk. So to
Yo,
me, it's how do you expect people to react? And so my biggest thing is that
look at Coach.
what I'm only communicating in regards to the marriages is that if you are a man, do your due diligence. Be able to see if she fits your life. Be able to see what is her family background. You can't protect yourself 100%.
Nah, you're right. That's a big one for me. And this is unfortunately for a lot of men. I think um, we learn things much later than we should have, right? Because the first thing you should do is check out her family background, check out her upbringing, how, because that tells you into her mindset, right? For the most part. I know it's not always the case, and like if you've ever seen, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Soft Underbelly is like the guy that does interviews, and he interviews like night workers, prostitutes and stuff. I don't know if I can say that word here, but YouTube will tell me. Um, anyway, so he does interviews with them, and it's interesting because a lot of the interviews, these are women that weren't raised with their fathers, but in other interviews, these are women that were raised in two-parent homes, and they had the perfect home, according to some of them, but they end up doing the same things. They end up in the streets. So sometimes it's not about like the family background, but it does help to check out their family background. That should be the first thing you want to know about, because that tells you into her mindset, what you're dealing with, what you might be dealing with in the future. So yeah, you want to check them out, pick right. I made a video um about this as well, asking how do you pick your partners, how do you match with them, because that's important. If you're looking for the wrong things to match with your partners, you're setting yourself up for failures, because um people will manipulate you, people will deceive you, people will pretend to be something that they are not, right? And it might be at the end of it that you figure out who they are, at the end when everything's falling apart. You know what I mean? So you want to be able to, you got to be like James Bond and 007s and detective FBI. You got to figure things out before they happen. And you got to be able to read people's personalities and their qualities, in order for you to really know who you're dealing with. Because like I said, man, people pretend, people are going to try to deceive you, and for whatever reasons that they might. If you are a man or a person of substance, you have things going for yourself. Naturally, people are going to want to be part of that. So a might trick her way into your life in order to attain the things that you have, right? I'm using the man as the example, because I don't think it happens more often where the woman is the one that's being tricked into it by the man to gain financially from the man, right? From the woman. I don't hear a lot of those. I hear it the other way around. So that's why I'm using that example. But yeah, people can pretend to be whatever they want in order to attain or to have access to the things that you have. You know what I mean? And don't let it be too late before you figure that out. Like that's something you want to learn how to read from the beginning, when you meet somebody, how you talk to them. You want to ask deep questions. You want to really, you got to know what questions to ask and what sort of um what and that their answers tells you about them and tells you about their mindset. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's keep going here. Um let's see if he's got anything more to say. If it does, then if they don't, I might just stop the video, but let's check it out.
From business failure, from friendship
Mhm.
failure, from anything in life. But there is wisdom, there is godly principles that you can adhere to that can benefit you. But there's no absolute guarantees that everything in life will be successful. No one's teaching anybody that.
But and I'm not the most religious person here, so let me just
Me,
give
I'm
that
not
disclaimer out there. You either,
Right,
but
yeah, yeah.
how like I feel like God or really is all faith. It's all I believe in this, and no matter what you tell me, you're not going to convince me otherwise because this is what I believe. I'm sure that there's tons of marriages out there that they believe they go to church every Sunday, and then next thing you know, it's they get divorced, and God was in their marriage. So I'm just trying to establish what a godless marriage is or God-filled marriage is, like how that genuinely curiosity, like how that works. Because he's saying no. I think what coach is basically
Man, I'm gonna actually stop that there. It's a really really good debate and that they had, and there I like the different point of views that they are making. Hafiz definitely made some good points, and so did the coach. Even the lady, I like a lot of her points as well, because um there are things that add to the success of a marriage, and marriage is such a beautiful thing. The coming together of two families, and creating a new family. In that process, it's a beautiful thing. Like, you can have somebody that you can come home to after a long day, a tough day, a difficult day at work. You can come home and know that the person that you are coming home to has your back. You can lean on them. You can talk to them about uh, your problems, and they should be able to um, lift up your spirit. Should be able to energize you to keep you going for the next day. And that's a beautiful thing. That's how it's supposed to be. But that's not usually or always how it goes. So yeah, marriage, is it worth it? In my opinion, the short answer is yes. Short answer, yes. Long answer, I'd say no. You know why? Because from a man's point of view, I think a lot of us, like I said before, we learn when it's too late, when it's already happened. If you can read the signs before they happen, good for you. Good on you if you can read the signs before they happen. And that's why videos like these are so important, because you're being shown, or you're being told to be cautious, right? So when you're cautious, you have you're looking for signs, you're looking for reasons um why you really shouldn't do something, and you're trying to have somebody or have something convince you that, yeah, you should go ahead with it, right? But when you fail to recognize these signs, it could be a high price to pay. It could be something that really comes back to hunt you. And that price it's a really high price. It's like it's something that would you would have to carry for a long time. You would have to try to rebuild from nothing for a long time, and it's something that would affect your kids. They might be traumatized from that, and which in turn affects their kids. So now you're having a bunch of broken people based on a failed marriage. So if you ask me, I would say it's not worth it, just based on the way that people are these days. Like I said, the manipulation tactics of people they seem to be very convincing. and um, people just want to take advantage of you. But I'm pretty sure there are good ones out there, and when you find that good one, then it's worth it. Then you stick with it, right? Um, but if you don't find that good one, I wouldn't just jump into getting married just because I don't want to be alone at night. That's not a good enough reason for me. You know what I mean? So, anyways, yo, thanks for being with me in this video. I hope that you are enjoying my content. So please hit the like and the subscribe button. And yeah, if you like this type of videos, let me know in the comments, and then I will try to make more of this type of videos as well. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.